Hey, and welcome to the DC Stewart Show. My name is Derek Stewart, and I have my co host here, Isaiah. And we're doing another night of podcasting tonight, talking about sports from the weekend, starting on Friday, on into Saturday, on into Sunday. And we're happy to be back to kind of go over some things with you as the viewer to let you know what we think. And we would like to know what you think. So, we have a lot to talk about and unpack tonight. From starting from high school football on Friday. Um, I attended a game actually and covered a game on Friday between Carson High School, California versus San Pedro High School here locally in the South Bay area. Two very traditional programs, legacy programs. A lot of famous athletes come out of those two programs. I had a really nice time, interviewing coaches and talking with some of the players and, likewise. So we will be talking about that. Isaiah will be going over some of the rankings and the scores in Miami and in Florida, South Florida for high schools. And again, I wanted to introduce you to Isaiah, my co-host. What's going on tonight, man? You in a bad mood tonight. What's up with you, man?
Man, don't try to think I'm in a bad mood. I'm in a great mood. I've been eager to get here and start, unleashing the portions of stuff that I covered over the weekend and share it with the viewers and let them know exactly what's going on down here in the 305. We had a
All
huge
right.
game
Well,
this week
that
with the Soul Bowl with Jackson, not Jackson, that used to be the rival. Jackson and Northwestern used to be the rival, but now it's Central and Northwestern, and Central pulled it out. And, there was a game where it used to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 50,000 people. And I was looking at the attendance, it was only 8,000. I mean, it was planted over at Miami-Dade Junior College at Transcript Stadium, but they don't hold the type of people that the Orange Bowl or either Joe Robbie and all those type of stadiums used to have with the Soul Bowl. But it was a good game because both of them are ranked in the state. So Central got the honors this year. They put it on Northwestern.
okay. So Travis Powell Stadium, help correct me if I'm wrong, and help me bring back my memory. When I played for Highly Optimist, and you came a year behind me at Highly Optimist, we took our photos over at Travis Powell Stadium. Is that
No,
correct or is that wrong?
no, that's wrong. We took them over at Marlander Stadium. That's in Hialeah.
My Lander
Yeah,
Stadium.
yeah.
Okay, I
It's over in
understand now.
Hialeah.
Thank you for correcting me on that because Travis Powell is a
That's
completely
probably
different
Miami-Dade.
stadium than
Is
my
at
Lander
Miami-Dade.
Stadium, right?
Is at Miami-Dade College. That's where they
I
have
see.
the
Miami-Dade
games
Junior
for
College. Yes.
Central.
Okay. Okay. Um, with all of that said, I like to thank you as the viewer for joining us tonight. Once again, I'm going to say it once again. If you like what we're doing, just hit that like button. Just hit that like button and let us know because we're actually building up our topics and for discussion, and we want you as the viewer involved, completely involved. This is like a everyday average talking point where we want to talk to people that's on the ground. We're not interested in people that's in the industry, sports, impresarios or that sort. We accept them too, but we want the common man to be able to come into this particular genre and talk to us about what you feel and how you feel about certain, your opinions on sports. One thing other I like to mention is this is National Breast Cancer Month. National Breast Cancer Month comes every October in the United States of America. I think it's imperative and I think it's important that people know how serious breast cancer is. I'm pretty sure someone, down the line has been, had a
Done,
family member or had someone that was
done their
close to you, a
food.
friend or a relative that was affected by that particular disease. And with breast cancer being the way it is and with technology advancing the way it is, we highly advocate that you, the viewer, pick and choose a breast cancer contribution and a donation and send that donation in. That could be $5, $10. each organization is different.
Yeah.
I've been actually contributing toward the National Breast Cancer Foundation, based in Frisco, Texas. They're really good. They're easy
Yeah.
to, be able to donate. So we want you to understand how important breast cancer is a big part of
Yeah.
our society as a whole. We want that solved. We don't want people continually to be impacted by that. So we will kick the show off right now with unpacking some of the things that went down over the weekend. And one of the things I want to mention is last week, me and Isaiah had this big debate about Georgia and Alabama. Isaiah, with his family being from Alabama, I have some family members from Alabama. We had this big debate on how Alabama ended up beating Georgia in that game a couple weeks ago. With that said, Alabama this past week ended up getting beat by Vanderbilt. I think it's an embarrassment to the University of Alabama program. I'm gonna be frankly honest with you. I think it's an embarrassing situation. You let a school that's unranked beat you, where that was a school that never won against Alabama, whether they were on the road, whether they played at home. So I have a bone to pick with Isaiah tonight, and I want him to kind of recant what he told me about Georgia, because I told him if Georgia were to play Alabama again, they would beat Alabama, and they would handily beat Alabama. What do you say about that, Isaiah? What's your issue of apologizing to me? I deserve an apology.
Well, you're not getting one. Let me show you how football
Oh,
works.
come on, man.
Get no apology, man. Let me tell you something. Anybody can have an off night. Just like you claim that Georgia would have beat Alabama if they played again. Same holds true if Alabama would have played Vanderbilt over again. Let me tell you this, man. Vanderbilt was playing over their head. I mean, completely over their head. They came out from the kick of the ball and they were just going at it. Alabama probably just laid back this week. Coach Saban said it. They don't even practice and get prepared for teams like that. Vanderbilt has never been like a straight up powerhouse team. And what they did is they came over there and they took them lightly and they got their butt torn out the frame. So what I'm telling you is you don't get no apology. And I think Alabama going to regroup and they're going to have a successful season this year. And if they don't, that head coach, he going to have some grease under his feet because it's five coaches right now that has a lot of grease under their feet, and they're going to be sliding right on out the door if they don't turn those programs around. I mean, it's some of them that had multiple years to correct their situation and they didn't do it, but now they're going to get their pink slip. So you will see some falls coming in before the season is out. I think these boosters and these universities not going to tolerate this losing because most of them had their years to turn it around and they didn't. And they got the players they thought they was going to get in there and they didn't. I mean, the portal is a good way to correct, a bad situation on a rapid scale, man, because our team here, University of Miami, has done it. Now, I know you was talking that crap about me wearing my Dolphins outfit. See, look, and I'm not ashamed of them, but we'll get around
You
to a
should be.
professional. I don't know why almost 305 man, bro, and I ain't gonna wave
I'm
it
a
at all.
305 man too, but I mean, them barely winning in New England this past weekend and
Well,
getting shamed in front of a home crowd a week
uh,
ago. I find it hard to be able to find myself really sticking with them right now.
hey,
I mean, I'm a hardcore Dolphin fan to the heart. You
have
know
you
that.
ever seen a W with barely in the front of it? No, it's just a W. It don't have barely in front of it. A W is a W. It don't have barely in front of it. And even with an
True.
L, you gonna say barely L. No, it's a loss or you gotta win, and that's what we got. We gotta win. Let's rock with it.
Are you gonna give me an apology again about that Alabama? Because I'm telling you, I tried to talk you out of it
No.
to not get too high on them. But one thing I said to you is trying to replace a legacy like Nick Saban, who I rooted for that team when Nick Saban was there, because I have the utmost respect for Nick Saban. I think he's a legend in his own right. You only replace a legend with another legend. So when Nick Saban
Nick
leaves,
Saban
you bring in
handpicked
another
these guys.
legend. You don't bring in another person that could possibly sit behind the legendary status and then be able to try to build a program from that point on.
Well,
The SEC West is a very, very difficult division in the conference. And I don't even think, to be honest with you, Alabama is going to even be there to play Georgia. And I'm so confident that
you
Georgia's going
writing
to be there in
Alabama off with
Atlanta.
one loss. You writing them off with one
Listen,
loss,
I'm so
man.
confident that Georgia's going to be there in Mercedes-Benz Stadium and Arthur Blank Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I'm so confident Georgia going to be there waiting on them if they can make it. But I don't think they're going to make it because they got to get past Mississippi. They got to get past LSU. They got to get past Texas. And even Oklahoma, if they play Oklahoma this year.
Well,
I don't know if they're going to be able to pass through that
we're gonna
gauntlet.
take
What
one
about you?
game at a time. We taking one game at
One
a
game at a
time,
time, huh?
and we'll see how all that pans out because you already done wrote them off and thinking that they're gonna have a sleazy season where they're gonna lose a lot of games. But I don't think so. I think they just stomped their toe this week and they'll regroup for the next week. So I ain't gonna give you no apology. As a matter of fact, you better be glad I don't use profanity because I'll show it how I use it. But let me tell you this. You get no apology. My team gonna turn around. Now, and that's my second team. I just was jugging at you because it was an Alabama Georgia thing. Now, my Canes won again this year. They came from behind by 25 points and pulled it off. So what do you say about that?
We'll get to the Canes in a little bit because I got a lot to unpack with them and their victorious win, which I'm so happy that they were able to come out here on a 2,500-mile trip by airplane, be able to handle their business and be able to pull through at the very, very last part of that whole thing. Um, Moving on to the top four, or actually four teams in the top 10 ended up taking losses over the weekend. Well, I mean, Tennessee ended up losing. USC, Southern California, they ended up losing to Minnesota on the road. Tennessee lost to Arkansas on the road.
Michigan lost too.
How do you think all this is going to shape up going toward the end of the season? I mean, because only 12 teams are going to make it this year.
It's going to be a tricky playoff because you see Michigan has lost several games now. You know, they won a national championship last year, but I think, man, it's going to be a shaky season. There are a lot of these teams that you perhaps thought they was going to be in that final where they could play in that 12 playoff, but I don't see it happening because it's a whole different season this year with a lot of new coaches moving around and players jumping ship. And man, the demographics is really weird now. It's really weird. And the thing is, teams that you think was going to run the table getting their butt handed to them. So man, this it's not a thing that we've seen before where you get so many powerhouse teams taking these losses early in the season. And even when it's the first conference games, they fail. So, man, I'm just eager to see how the midpoint of the season going to end up because, you know, teams that you would think that would be undefeated has lost a couple games now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's true. I mean, if you look at the top three teams right now, you're looking at Texas. I believe, and I think AP put them back up at number one, which they should have stayed there. Alabama should have never been able to push them out of the way. Although the Alabama did beat Georgia, so I guess it does go into that sequence where you beat the next top highest team, they put you up in the top. The biggest thing with me is you're looking at Texas, you're looking at Oregon, and you still looking at Ohio State. You know, these are all still undefeated teams. You got to add Miami in there because Miami could easily, with the next few games, if they pull these next few games off, they could easily be up in the top five,
Yeah,
at least somewhere
they got a bye
positioned in the
week
top
this week,
five.
and then they're going to play Louisville.
Right. And I pretty much maybe could see them beating Louisville. You know, I believe so. I believe they can beat
I
Louisville.
think they can finish the season off if they play with their high capability. I really don't see anybody beating them now. You know, their schedule is like suited for them to go undefeated. I mean, they don't really have the straight powerhouse like the Ohio States and the Georgias and the big powerhouse teams. They got some teams that you can almost check off that they'll beat. Last year and the year before, some of those things that they fell. Now, Duke is another team that we didn't mention that lost this week also. Duke was
True,
undefeated. So
true.
we do have to play Duke. But man, I just couldn't believe these amount of teams that lost this week.
Well, I could believe it, man, because college football, with the way it's structured now, and the way the recruiting is structured, and with NIL and with all of the other variables that come along with college football, it's just so many kids are being spread around based on the prerequisites of them being able to either get that NIL money somewhere, to be able to go to the school of their choice, which 5-star blue chippers always have that selection, luxury, and then you have other variables that are associated with that. The biggest thing is it's just all the talent is being spread around, unlike before, where back in the 70s and 80s and even on into the 90s and 2000s, there was only a handful of programs that was able to get the top recruits. Oklahoma, Nebraska, Texas, Florida, Georgia, and I could name a whole bunch of other ones. Ohio State, Penn State. Those schools were historically able to land recruits based on the school's power structure within college football and within the conferences that they were in.
Yeah,
But the conference realignments now that they have, you have the Big Ten. They have West Coast schools on the Big Ten. They have two West Coast schools in the ACC. I mean, that's a little baffling to me. You have to travel 2,500 miles to play a team, because Miami traveled to Cal, and that's a very, very long trip
well,
to try to, be prepared to play a football game.
I think some of the recruits now are judging the schools that they want to play in according to the city that is in also, because there's a lot of fun in college. And if you go into a college that is a city that's booming with the clubs and the nightlife and all this type of stuff, those kids are going to those schools too because they know there's a bunch of things happening in the school outside of school. Once the football season is done, there's a lot of stuff to do in a particular city. They go into schools that has a huge population of beautiful women and stuff like that. Some of them don't want to go to a school where it's in the woods where it ain't that much to do. It's just a quiet town. So they want to go to a city that's hip, things going on. Even the pros teams that's there that's doing something. You can go to a New Orleans team. LSU got something going on. You got the University of Miami got something going on. Almost all the schools in California got something going on. So those kids want to go to a city that's booming, man. I mean, got a nightlife and I mean, it's just concerts there, and it's a beautiful town to live in. And it's some of these kids go there, and once they get out of school, even if they don't make it to professional football, they just stay right in this, city that they went to school in. I know that happened a
That's
lot in
true.
Georgia.
That's true. I mean, some kids, I mean, they like these college towns, and
Yep.
then some kids like coming to these major media markets like Miami and like New York and LA and places of that sort. So, it's really a big sell now because, like I say, NIL really changed the
Of
dynamic of
course
that.
it did.
NIL, it just, when it comes to money, and when it
Yeah.
comes to a 17, 18, 19-year-old being able to make money at the rate that they can make money
Yeah, they
now
can
at
take
that
care of their
level.
family while they're in school.
Listen, some of these players at the college level with NIL contracts are making more than NFL players
Well, they're
who are
making
like
more than the
players
coaches
that was
too.
drafted 6th round, 5th round. I mean, these players
Yeah,
making the NFL minimum, 800
yeah,
plus thousand dollars a year.
they're making more than their coaches. They make
Exactly. They're making more than the coaches.
yeah.
So, that's a dynamic that college football is going to have to contend with as a whole, because my whole thing of it is the rich is going to get richer
Yeah,
and the
the
poor
kids,
is going to be poor.
I'm actually thrilled to see that, man. I'm so thrilled to see that.
I am
I
too.
I
I
listened to
am
an
too.
interview with Hunter from Colorado, and he told his line. They kept those. horses off of the quarterback way and give him time to get in his route and finish his route and throw the ball to him. And man, he said he was going to take all of them to any restaurant that they wanted to go to. It was on him. So you have, when did you hear
50
that
plus
back in the day?
players to take them to a
Yeah, but
restaurant
he
at a
he could
steakhouse.
afford it. He could afford it. You know,
Yeah,
back in the day,
for
you
sure.
barely had enough money to take your girlfriend out to the movies, man, and you had to borrow money or how call your parents and tell them to wire you some money, and that was before all the cash app and all that stuff. And you really didn't have no money to get around. You surely hell didn't have no car. You know, you used to have a bum a ride or either hold somebody else's car, or share it, and all this type of stuff. So you can go to a freaking fast food restaurant, and that was about it. But man, you
Well,
was
these
nickel and
guys are
diming to
driving
get it
Bentleys
there.
around on
Well, of
campus
course
now. I
they
mean, you
are.
look at Shador Sanders, he
Yeah,
drives a Bentley Continental
good.
GT
Yeah,
around
and
on
that's from his
Colorado's
money, not
campus.
his dad's. That's his
And
money.
who knows how many more drive those type of cars
Yeah.
around campuses around the country,
It's a
right?
beautiful situation they're in, man, and I love it. I like to see these kids prosper like that, man, because you know back in the day, you would see these kids getting their ankles twisted or knees torn out, and they could barely walk, and the school's making all that money, and the kids got to go somewhere and get a job in the next 4 years, and if they don't get a degree, they're out there freaking waiting tables or doing something that's not, you know, according to the skill level that they're really in. So, you know, it's a good thing that they're getting paid. I'm loving it. I
Yeah, I
mean, not
agree. I
only
mean,
that, you think
it's been
about,
so unfair for so long, and it's been a unfair trade-off. And with an organization like the NCAA, which
hmm
stands for National College Athletic Association, it's basically a corporate entity, and it's a corporate giant, and is no different than any other Fortune 500 company. That they literally make money off of these schools by schools being a
billions,
member of the
billions
NCAA.
of dollars, man, billions of
Yeah,
dollars.
it's a billion. Actually it's billions of
Yeah,
dollars. It's pumped into that, and for the longest time until NIL came about, um, they were just raking in the cash. And like you say, the athletes, some of them made it to the NFL and was able to succeed in life. Some didn't. Some ended up having to get
man.
jobs.
When I was
You
in
know,
school, man, during breaks, you had kids couldn't even afford to go home, man. They didn't even have enough money to get to the house. They had to stay on campus until school got back in because parents didn't have enough money to bring them home. So this is what I'm saying. I love what's going on right now, man. You know, it was shameful when you got there getting concussions and all this type of stuff, and you can't even go home to see your loved ones during break, spring break, or either the Thanksgiving holidays or whatever the case may be. You couldn't even get home and give your grandma and your grandfather a hug and a kiss. So now,
so
all you got to do is go out there and work your tail off, and everything will flourish from there. So I'm loving it.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. So our next subject is New England Patriots safety Jibril Peppers. Jibril Peppers used to play for Michigan. I remember when he played. He was charged yesterday in Massachusetts on a quite a few charges. I mean, some of it being um, controlled substances and things of that nature. I mean, what do you think about these guys that keep getting into these jams where these are professional athletes, and you would think they would think better and think a little bit more clearer about before they make decisions, because one decision can cost you your whole career, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it can. It can cause you your life. It can cause you jail time. It can cause you so many things financially as well. I think it's numerous reasons why they conduct themselves in such a poor manner. Some of it is, first thing starts at the house. You know, some of it when you don't have both parents home. And another thing is most of them are arrogant because from early childhood, everybody told them that they was great and they poop don't stink. So whenever somebody say something to them, they go off, and that's sad, man. Instead of trying to be a productive citizen with some moral values, and you get in fights with people who just step on your toe by mistake and stuff like that, or somebody some girl you trying to get with, she don't want to be bothered, and you don't know how to control yourself. I think that's a sad situation that he found himself in. I hope the best for him, and sometimes you get people who go through the system like that, it straighten them out because they realize what they have in jeopardy by going through the system. I mean, get locked up, or sometimes they put them on probation, and they eager for you to do anything else wrong when you get that first break. So I wish him well, man. I hope he get out of this thing and learn himself. And also, when people like him get in this type of trouble, I would urge, I would urge anyone who find themselves in this type of predicament, when you straighten yourself out, go back into these neighborhoods and show these kids, man, this is what I almost lost. So they won't fall in that trap, man, because people, especially young folks, they're looking at these guys get in trouble. And sometimes they think it's okay when you see them buck the system and you get out of it. But if you go into these neighborhoods and say, man, this is what was on the line, this was at stake, man, I could have been to the point where I've never ran down that football field again, and I lost everything. Now my grandma, my parents was dependent on me to get me out of this situation that they're in, and sometimes they in very challenging situations themselves financially, and you the one who can get them out of it, and you go and do something stupid and wind up getting locked up. So man, it's sad. I mean, it's really sad. I mean, the NFL has programs for these young folks who, I mean, teach them how to save their money and invest their money and how to behave on a professional level, because you're a professional. You're a professional, man. And for them to get in this type of trouble, man, it's just really disheartening to see it.
And he's one of along the lines of many athletes that just seem to make bad decisions. They made bad choices, and they just did jump the tracks, man.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and it. I agree with you. I hope he's able to figure out how to overcome this obstacle, because this is an obstacle in life for him, and I would wish him the best. Now, if he did something to somebody, which who you could term as a victim, and he did something to them, he's just going to have to be accountable for that.
Yeah.
He's going to have to answer to that, because there is no excuse if you do something to someone and it's not right. It needs to be addressed, and that could be legally,
You're
that could be
addressed.
civilly. It's a whole bunch of remedies to that they need to be aware of, that when you make decisions like that, you could be impacted civilly, you could be impacted criminally,
Yeah,
or you could be impacted by both.
yep.
I mean, and that's a double
Most of the
whammy,
time it is both. Most of the time it is both,
Exactly.
because if you found guilty, then you get locked up and you get a chance to pay these people for their troubles that you put them in, whether you physically harm them or emotionally harm them, because sometimes it's both.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So moving on to Florida State University and Mike Norvell. First and foremost, I'm not a Florida State follower. I don't follow Florida State. I've never been a big fan of theirs, even though they're up in the Tallahassee area of Florida. I grew up in Miami. I don't believe that he's probably going to get a good shake at the end of the year. One thing I want to ask you is, his quarterback, who was benched over a week ago, DJ Uiagalelei, which is a superior athlete. Uiagalelei played at St. John Bosco here in Bellflower, right up the street from where I live. I mean, the guy was a 5-star blue chipper, all world, got the size, the skill set, the arm. I mean, sure shot first round draft pick, even probably top 5 if you ask a lot of people. DJ Uiagalelei played at Clemson under Dabo Swinney, and we've had conversations about Dabo Swinney. Dabo Swinney is a very, very good coach, very well respected coach around college football. But DJ ended up committing where he could have committed anywhere. He could have went to USC. He could have went to any school he wanted to go to in this country. That's how really talented he was. He made some comments about not Mike Norvell over a week ago, and I don't know whether it was just out of anger for being benched, but to my understanding, would you throw your coach under the bus like that if things weren't going well? Or would you take some responsibility for the team's position right now of being 1-4 or 1-5? I mean, what's your take on that?
I think that the coach is losing the team. When you got your guys are running their mouth like that and talking back and all of this foolishness, you actually lost that team. And that's why I think he got some grease on his feet. Man, when your players are out running their mouth and they can't keep that stuff in house, it's a terrible situation that's happening in there. Um, I watched the game this week, and they just don't have that intensity like they had in the past. They don't gain tackle. They don't run strong routes. They don't have that emotional grit like they usually have that from the Seminoles teams. I mean, especially when they got the horses like they usually have. They are at it. Even if they lose, they fight to the bitter end. I mean, just think about all the Miami games. It was like a field goal wide right and wide left. It was always a competitive game. This guy has clearly lost that locker room, and now he's got people are so outraged about it, and players, and they're running their mouth. Usually that don't happen, man. And if it does, he's got to clip these guys. Whenever you got players or assistant coaches or any form of your body of people as a team starting to go outside of your organization, running their mouth, either talking back, it's time to either you leave or they leave, because that stuff don't happen where you rekindled up relationships with these players, man. I think he gonna be out of here. I do. I see.
Well, I can concur with that, but what the biggest thing that I'm trying to kind of understand is his performance isn't that great. I mean, if you look last year at Florida State, they went 13-0, man, with a quarterback. I mean, and I don't think this year the coach's resume should be judged on this year alone. I just don't believe it. I think he's a great coach. I think he should stay. I don't know if he will stay because, like you say, with the boosters and all of that, it's what have you done for me lately?
Well,
So
well,
I just thought it was a little bit unfair from the sense that if you're a quarterback and this coach brought you in because DJ Uiagalelei ended up going from Clemson to Oregon State. He had a fantastic year at Oregon State under Jonathan Smith, who was the head coach at the time. Jonathan Smith is currently the head coach at Michigan State. He might have should have followed Jonathan Smith to Michigan State, but I think what happened is, and I'll do some more research, but I think that NIL money looked much better at Florida State than it did at Michigan State. Uh, he's showing. I mean, I'm looking here. He's completed 56.6 of his passes for 222 yards per game with 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. The 2 interceptions are the problem. When you throw in 2 interceptions against 1 touchdown, that just erases a lot of the performance from your data. I mean, your stats. I mean, would you agree with that?
yeah, partially, but still, you got to have a coach that know how to get the guy down, calm him down, and let him know it's going to be all right. See, if he come at a these kids not like it used to be.
That's
You
true.
got to
That's
really
true.
kind of manipulate and get in their minds and show them stuff. And if you don't massage your shoulders the right way, they're gonna rebel against you. And that's exactly what's going on over there, man. And for him to have such a marvelous season, you got to remember how greedy we are. I'm talking about as sports fans, as viewers, we're greedy. If you went 10-0 last year, guess what? They want you 12-0 next year. If you go 12-0, they
That's
want
true.
you 14-0. They want you to continue to progress. If you went undefeated, they want a national championship. And if you start to go backwards, and then you're gonna get some oil on your feet. You cannot go backwards, and that's what he's done. He's going. He looked like he's rebuilding when he should be going forward. So that's why I'm thinking they're gonna short order him out of there, man. I mean, they're not gonna continue to watch this team lose like they are. I mean, there's no way they're going to be in the rankings for anything big in the end of the year because they probably go to a little bowl game. They'll go eat some sneakers or some potato chip, something small that that nobody can even identify with because all the big games, big bowls, going to be taken by teams that's good. I think he's going to lose about 4 or 5 games, man. I'm telling you, because his
Oh well, they
situation.
they haven't they haven't seen the storm coming until they play Miami down at Hard Rock Stadium.
Listen
That
to me.
might that might be the nail
Hey,
in the coffin right there. Because I firmly believe they're gonna play hard now.
remember
Don't
this.
I don't think Florida State's gonna come down there and lay down.
Hey,
They just
man,
not gonna lay down, but they gonna get beat down.
I'm a, I'm a, I'm
They
a,
don't have to
I'm a,
lay down. They gonna get beat down.
I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm a straight 305. Now, when Florida State and Florida, when they play anybody outside of Miami, I kind of want them to win because I'm a Floridian as well. But
Hmm.
when them nose can't come down here, man, I want us to just bring that paddle that the elementary school principal used to beat kids with back and just wear them out. I just want to wear them out from the moment they caught that ball because we owe them because they know how to show out when they win against Miami. They know how to get out there and dance. They know how to taunt you. They want to push you and they want to late hit you. They want to intimidate. They want to do all the nasty stuff to like rub it in that we kicking y'all. But and of course that game is down here. It's here. It's home.
Absolutely.
Man, we gonna put it on them. I can't wait. I got a bunch of my classmates went to Florida State and they talk a lot of crap, but they silent right now, man. You can't even hardly get them on the phone. You know what? When I call them, they send me the voicemail. They won't answer the phone. They don't. I can't wait to get them back.
Let me ask you this:
So
when
I
you're
get my,
losing, do you answer the phone?
yeah, I got sportsmanship. I listen to them. I listen to everything. Even when we bet it, I send them their beer and all that kind of crap when they want it. I mean, since I don't drink, I mean, I hadn't got what I wanted because they were supposed to be sending me some steaks, just like you. So, I mean, I never got a chance
Well,
to get my steak from them.
don't start about them steaks because we ended up breaking even with them steaks
Yeah,
with it
because
with
it was about four
getting
or
that
five
handle with
years waiting
Alabama
on
and
them.
Georgia. If you know where I'm coming
Oh,
from,
yeah,
right?
man. A good, successful, prosperous guy like you couldn't even get my Omaha Steaks out mailed to my door.
Be
Unbelievable.
nice. Don't
Um,
don't be
freaking believable.
kind. Be gentle.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. I thought you
So,
was gonna come
okay,
for
so
Christmas
moving
one year.
on to Miami. And this is the game that me and you were talking about for a while. It was a very, very uh hyped game. I mean, up to the point where they did college game day on Saturday in Berkeley at Cal.
Yeah,
And Cal is a really good school. It's a state school, but it's a very, very good school. I mean, Cal is one of the top schools in the country, not only in the state of California. They've always had good football teams, competitive football teams. They joined the ACC when the Pac-12 dissolved. I mean, because the Pac-12 ended up losing a bunch of members, USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington, all those schools ended up going to the Big Ten because of bigger TV contracts. I have never seen so many people pull for Cal, which Cal has technically been non-relevant for so long. I mean, players like Beast Mode played at Cal, Aaron Rodgers played at Cal. I mean, they've had some really good players come out of Cal over the years. my biggest thing is some of the things that I was reading on Twitter and some of the things I was reading on social media was like Miami, the referees just handed Miami the game at the very end of the game. I don't think that's true. I mean,
No,
I watched
no.
the game from start to finish.
That
What
was,
was your takeaway from that game? I mean, Miami got punched in the mouth. Of
yeah,
course,
they
they got
did
punched
it.
in the mouth
They got
throughout the
punched.
whole
They
game.
sure did.
Cal pretty much pushed them around like they were on skates and roughed them up the whole game. But at the very end of the game, Miami figured out a way to win this game.
What
Give
happened
me
with
your
the,
takeaway on that.
I surely will. Miami made some like historical type of adjustments on them. And they did it in spurts where they gradually started stopping them. And then in the third quarter, late in the third quarter, they just started driving the ball, and they couldn't do that in the beginning. Now, I think Cal got too big headed and thought they just had the game won because they was up 25 points. And in University of Miami quarterback it just seemed like he was disoriented, and he wasn't like that the whole season. So they thought they had him under control, but guess what? This dude Ward has so much poise. He dropped off the little his passes, and he just started doing it. He wasn't going for the whole haul. He was just dropping them like this, boom, boom, boom. And what happened was they was driving up the field. They got the confidence up, and they just took the game at the end. Cal was stunned. They had a number zero, that linebacker over there who was headhunting all night. He was over there crying like he was at a funeral, man, because they thought they had the game in the bag. So I'm just telling you, man, the University of Miami just took their time, went up and down the field and scored. We even helped them out. We gave them one of our freaking timeouts at the end. I don't know why in the world Cristobal would call a timeout when these guys had no timeouts left. And he runs out there trying to make it seem like and give him a call one of his timeout for them to set up again. But it ultimately it didn't work for him. But still, they didn't even need he didn't even have to call a timeout. Man, this game was a nice one. It was really nice to watch that game, and college football was on a high that night because it was beautiful,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, it was a very, very good game up until the end. And in defense of Mario Cristobal, I'm gonna just play devil's advocate here. He called that timeout because he wanted to make sure his team was completely set to do whatever they needed to do instead of just allowing the team to just not be prepared. Coaches have different, they think different. Every coach is different, and we're all human beings and we think different. So I'll go out on a limb and defend Mario Cristobal and say he probably called that timeout to make sure that all of his players understood their responsibilities to be in positions
I
that
get
they needed to be
flashbacks when I
in
see them do
to
stuff
help
like that.
set up and win this game.
You see, what always play in my mind when I see him do something of that magnitude. Remember last year where they had a few seconds to just take a damn knee and they tried to run the ball and fumbled it and lost. Remember that?
I can't defend him on that one now. I
That's
that
what I'm
that
telling
that
you.
right there,
And
I
that's
can't I
what I
can't defend him
started
on that one.
thinking why. I
All
said,
they had to do was
why?
kneel on the ball on that one, and he didn't.
All he had to
He
do
I
was let
think
him run out
he
the clock
allowed
on
the
this one
offensive
too.
coordinator to make that call, and that just hurt him, man. That really that hurt him last year.
Well,
It put him in a bad spot.
I tell you one thing, they are really on the right track this year. And like I said before, I think they're gonna have a very successful season. I'm just eager for FSU to come in town. I can't
So it
wait.
says in the post here, as I'm going to read this off, in a post that has over 2 million views on X as of writing, a photo clearly shows two Miami offensive linemen down the field before Cam Ward made the game-winning throw on a second and goal, but officials completely missed the ineligible man downfield call, allowing the Hurricanes to win. In college football, ineligible receivers, usually offensive linemen, are allowed to be at least 3 yards past the line of scrimmage before the quarterback throws the ball. But in this instance, one lineman was just stepping over the 3-yard limit while the other one was at the goal line 5 yards away. Had the officials called it, Miami would have been moved back to the 10-yard line and would have lost a down, which could have impacted the game. This call could have given a different final result, but instead, the Hurricanes still remain undefeated. Still, these ACC officials are taking a lot of heat for the critical mistake. Let me say this. I remember in the national championship game where Miami was playing Ohio State in Tempe, Arizona in the Fiesta Bowl, and literally the last play of the game, it was an incomplete pass, and the freaking official on the opposite end of the end
Running
zone threw
over
a
there.
flag.
I see. I remember
I
that.
never got over that. I
I
never got over
remember
that.
that play. I remember that play.
Yeah, I never got over that. And what I take issue with is all this subjectivity where people get into their subjectivity of how they look at things. Everybody look at things different. Look,
Well,
what the officials
I
call
can almost
throughout the game
understand that.
late
Yeah.
hits. I mean,
Mhm.
hold
Yeah. Just think
against
like,
Cal, because
yeah.
Cal was
It
piling
was
on.
home.
Their players was
Look,
gouging.
Cal,
Their players were kneeing and punching. I didn't see any calls on any of
Cal
that.
was home, man. When you see stuff like that, Cal was home. If you're talking about somebody who will get a benefit of the doubt, it will be them. They not ever giving University of Miami no game, man. They're not gonna do anything in their favor. They always looked at them as thugs and hoodlums and fools, man. They've been doing that for years. They're not gonna ever try
Mm-hmm.
to, just like I seen a banner said it was woke and coke. They were woke and then the University of Miami was coke. Like they're on drugs. So man, they're not giving them nothing. Even the one of the plays where the University of Miami stroked that quarterback, the commentators even was trying to get this guy ejected out the game. It was a clean hit. It was a hit where the
Well,
quarterback had took the ball and
you can
ran.
give that credit to ex NFL player Brock Osweiler, which to me, I mean, that was his subjectivity. He to me, he was literally I took it as he was trying to say that he knew more about targeting than the officials did. Okay, so here we go. You have a quarterback scrambles out of the pocket. This quarterback, by the way, is from Miami, Florida. He lived 3 minutes from the campus of University
Yep.
of Miami. He was not offered a scholarship at Miami. Whatever reason, he was playing to show Miami and its fans and the school and his father and his mother and his family sit up in the stands.
Yeah.
Look, I'm going to make it happen against this team. So he took off out of the pocket
Yep.
and he wasn't a protected runner anymore. How can the defensive back hit him? And from my angle, from what I was seeing, the defensive back hit him under the shoulder pads. He didn't, and when he hit him, the quarterback balled up. I mean, he brought his head down. I mean, what do you expect a defender to do? I mean, the defender has to play football too. It's just not one-sided. So I took offense to what Brock Osweiler and Reese Davis is he's a good dude, man. I don't know Brock Osweiler as well as I know Reese Davis, but Reese Davis is a good dude. He's on College Game Day. I admire the guy, but you know, I don't know, man. I took issue with what they were trying to get the officials to influence the officials to reverse that call and give Cal a first down, which would have ended the
They
game.
looked at it in every angle, man. And I'm gonna tell you right now, it was so sad to see this guy just knew the way they were talking about it, he was gonna get ejected, man. He had took off his helmet, he had came to the sideline and everything, and he just was playing smash mouth. That's all he was doing. This guy just was. That was one of the best tackles you can hit a person without rapping. You know, that's all he didn't do is rap, but he stroked the crap out of him, man, and he stopped them on a dime, and it was just a severe hit. It wasn't an illegal hit. It just was a stroke.
No.
You stroked him.
I didn't look at it as being an illegal hit because he wasn't a protected runner. He wasn't in a slide. If he would have went into a slide and then he got hit like that, okay, we got a targeting call. But this guy was upright.
If that would have been a running
I
back,
watched him all night literally shake defenders off of him. I mean, I'm talking about this quarterback, Fernando Mendoza. His father played with Mario Cristobal Columbus High
Yeah.
School in Miami. You know, we both
Mm-hmm.
know a lot about Columbus High
Right.
School. And he was playing above the key because he was playing in front of his home crowd and he was playing in front of his family.
Oh, he was
And
showing off, man.
he
He
was
was
showing
showing
off,
off, and
showing
plus,
out and showing off.
yeah, and
Yeah,
he thought that he was the main one. Thought they had the game in the bag, and he
exactly.
took the ball and
Exactly.
took off running. And the guy put it on him. That's all. That's all that was.
Exactly. And I have to take my hat off. All of these other people were criticizing these officials by saying that these ACC officials are under fire because from what I take from it is they're trying to say, well, the ACC officials are trying to keep a team in the ACC undefeated.
That's
That's not true.
garbage. That's
That's not true.
BS. Yeah,
That's not true. It's just not true.
I think that's just BS, man. Yeah.
So it says here ESPN's Brock Osweiler had some questions on Saturday night after the Miami Hurricanes benefited from a controversial replay ruling for the second week in a row. So the first one they tried to say Virginia Tech player came down with the ball, which he didn't. If you look at the slow motion and then you look at a still shot, the ball was out. He didn't even hit the ground with the ball. But let's get back to this. Cal led number 8 Miami 38-32 with less than 2 minutes remaining Saturday night when Hurricanes linebacker Wesley Bisatane hit Golden Bears QB Fernando Mendoza with what appears to be a case of targeting.
Yeah.
Mendoza had to be helped off the field.
Yeah.
Yet there was no flag on the play, and after official review, the no call stood. Osweiler was working the game play-by-play with Reese Davis and appeared stunned by the replay decision. How can you be stunned? How can you be stunned about a play of a runner who's not protected? He wasn't in a slide. How can you be stunned? Brock Osweiler played quarterback in the NFL. He played quarterback at Arizona State.
Right, and he's biased because I'm gonna tell you right now.
Well, that's what it sounds like to me. I mean, come
that
on.
official went inside that booth and had lunch. He stayed in there so doggone long, man.
He
wanted
did.
to make sure he got it right. And he came out and he charged the guy with no targeting and let him come in there and finish playing the game. He didn't target. The guy just stroked him, man. Every time you see a vicious hit, they think is a target. Nobody don't target. They don't want it. They know what it takes to target. Most people who used to hit wrong to hurt somebody, they cut that crap out because first of all, you can get thrown out the game, and then second of all, you're not going to play in the next game until like the second half, depending on what portion of the game you got called for targeting. So if you get called for targeting in the fourth quarter, you're not playing until the next game in the fourth quarter. So how are you out going to target somebody? They're not doing that, man. This guy just was a biased piece of crap, and I hate his commentary because he was pushing that, man. I was just wanting him to shut up when I was listening to him. He just made me sick, man.
Well, obviously there was an influence factor in it where all of a sudden Cal becomes this Cinderella team and they should have won this game based on one play. Cal had the whole game to put the game away. They didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, they had 4 and outs, just like Miami had 4 and outs. And then everybody tries to lay this all on one play or 2 plays where they say the 2 linemen was down the field. And game after game, I've sat up and said the same thing. We all have subjective opinions to the way we look at things, but trying to influence officials is not the way to do it. If you're an announcer, I mean, it's okay to give your opinion to what you think is a targeting call, but to other people, it might not be okay. I mean, the football is football. You cannot escape the fact that you have 2 human beings colliding in each other and basically at high rates of speed and velocity. So at the end of the day, a hit is a hit. Now, if it's something that's flagrant, he was in a slide again, or if it was something where he knocked the guy down like that and he stood over him and he stared him down, standing over him, or he celebrated and he was running around acting like he had just ended someone's life, that's a targeting to me.
I think their team was more, even including the coaching staff. They were clearly embarrassed, man. You get a lead like that, and watch it drift away and ultimately lose the game at the end. You're going to look for every freaking minor excuse to throw out there just to say this is the reason why we lost. Man, I don't buy that crap, man. If that was the case, all of these positions what they're holding on to right now, they didn't say that when they were winning. They said that when they got their butt handed to them. So that's the deal with them.
Exactly.
So that's how I see it.
Exactly. Ultimately, it was a good game. Miami's still undefeated. We'll see on this bye week whether they're prepared to play Louisville in another week. Keep this run going. I suspect they're going to end up playing Clemson for the championship, for the ACC championship. And they owe Clemson one too,
Oh,
because
yes, they
Clemson
do.
has been winning against them for years. So Clemson, to me, they better be prepared for Clemson, but Clemson also better be prepared for them. Next subject is a sports agent was convicted over this past weekend for fraud from a professional athlete, which he embezzled money from that professional athlete. I know this is a subject that we've talked about in the past, where we don't agree that embezzlement as a crime with high numbers fits the punishment. Would you say an embezzlement charge is equation or equal to stealing millions of dollars from someone?
No, it's stealing is stealing, man. And you trust these people and they do that kind of heinous thing to you, it's stealing. And they need to go just with a regular one. If you went to 7-Eleven and you came in there with a BB gun or you held up the person at Walmart, and no matter what it is, it's the same game. You took something from somebody. So I think he need to be held accountable for it, man, because it's a lot of these athletes go broke behind these scumbags who taking their money because they are solely relying on them, because you get some of these illiterates that don't have, I mean, not a sense of at all to have this type of money coming in every week. And then all of a sudden it accrued to millions and millions of dollars. They don't know how to, get that money and save it and put it away or invest it or, make sure they're going to have some money for the rest of their life. They entrust these guys with this stuff. They give them power of attorney to sign checks and the whole 9 yards. Some of them so like adolescents, they let these people pay all their bills for them. So you got the power of attorney over here. You take up all my affairs, and these guys start ripping them off. And then the ultimate thing is, I watched this stuff happen before, and these people make them pay taxes on the money that they stole from them. So imagine that. So they
Mm-hmm.
get hit twice. So
Mm-hmm.
it's even difficult for these people to even uh, pay care of that money because it gets spent in so many ways that don't make sense. They go to the booty shake club, they go whining and dining all their buddies and all this type of stuff when they're not holding themselves accountable to be able to secure their future with this money. And then, of course, you got these accountants stealing from them. So, I mean, some of them pass them around to one person to the next. You hook them up with that friend. This friend gonna do something to him. We're gonna let this friend do something to him for him, and then ultimately these guys are broke at the end, and they don't have anything, and you start wondering why they're broke. Is because most of them get them to invest in stupidity. They don't have no really good hardcore intentions of making these guys successful for after their career is over. And then next thing you know, these guys are on the street. Just only if they can make it to have a pension at the end, most of the time that's not enough because they don't accrue so much debt with these houses and cars and taking care of family members and all of this foolishness. So when somebody's stealing from them, it just it just tears everything apart, man. I just hope the Joker who did it be held accountable for it, man, because these guys.
Well, it's a federal crime, so I think he has been convicted on it, and he's going to be sentenced at some point. I can even go back to just over a year ago where this gambling scandal with Major League Baseball with player Shohei Ohtani for the Los Angeles Dodgers, who's a Japanese player from Japan
Hmm.
who plays for the Dodgers. He played for the Angels for many years, and his interpreter um,
Stole money from him
stole
too.
money from him. I
Yeah.
think it was a
Yeah.
number of $17 million because he
Yeah.
had a gambling habit and he was trying to pay off this
Yeah.
gambling debt that he had. And from what this fact showed, that the player didn't even know about it, because I
Mm.
found out through some sources that this particular guy ended up Ipe Mizahara ended up opening up a bank account in with him sitting there because he didn't speak English as well as
Mhm.
he needed to.
Yeah.
So Mizahara had full access to his checking
So
account,
he
and I don't
probably
even know if the
a
guy was
solid
checking his checking
documents that
account.
he had no clue of what was going on too.
He had no clue,
That
because I don't
yeah.
know if he was even going in checking his bank account. If you got hundreds of millions of dollars
Yeah.
sitting in an account,
Yeah.
how do you miss
Yeah.
17
Yeah.
million? I mean,
Yeah.
looking at the numbers, I mean, from a
Yeah.
numbers perspective. So he's going to be sentenced in December, and I don't know how many years he's going to get, but he's definitely going to prison because he stole that money from this player. One thing I was saying is Shohei Ohtani ended up getting married, and he married an ex volleyball player that played volleyball in Japan. And I'm pretty sure that woman came and asked him, are you watching your bank account?
Yeah.
And he
She may have
probably told
caught
her
it.
that eBay opened a bank account
Yeah.
for me, and
She
woo,
probably
boy, I
won't
bet you
caught it.
that sent
Yeah. She,
shockwaves
yeah.
through her,
Yeah. She probably won't caught it, man. Because when you
Yeah,
have people
I think she
overseeing the
did.
stuff
I
like
think
that,
I would go as far as to say she
yeah,
caught
she probably caught it.
the discrepancy, and
Yeah.
she asked him, "Look at your bank account," and he probably went in and seen some of the numbers had been transferred,
Hmm.
and that's a very sad state of affairs, man. When you trust people, let me ask you this: would you place someone in power of attorney if you were hundreds of millions of dollars in? Would you give them power of attorney?
I would have somebody hired to do taxes and stuff like that. But I won't give nobody power of attorney to be writing checks at all. It ain't nobody
How'd you
doing that.
manage all that money?
You all you gotta
How
do is
would you
have
manage all that money when you got that much money and you're traveling around? You don't have time to be watching a bank account every day. You
you
don't
don't
have
have
time
to.
to pay your
What you
mortgages
gotta do
on
is
those
take
5 or 6 homes you have and a fleet of cars. How do you pay for all it? I mean, who do you get to
you're gonna
watch it?
have
Do you get your
multiple
parents to
people.
watch it?
No, you can do it yourself, but you get multiple people to handle certain things. But when it comes to that money, you write your own checks. You write your own checks. I remember Oprah Winfrey
But
singing
I'm
that years
asking
ago.
you, is it realistic
It
to
is
write your own
realistic.
checks
Yes, it
when you're not
is. It's even
always in
easier
town to
now.
write your own check?
Huh? It's easier now.
Well,
It's
yeah,
easier
with
than it used to
technology,
be.
right?
It's easier now. Yeah, it's easier now. Because all you gotta do is know who your staff is. That's it. You know who your staff is and you know how much money say for instance you got $100 million and you operating
Okay.
off of 25 million. So $75 million
Okay.
is going to be off to the side, never being touched. It's going to be somewhere just sitting, relaxing, and you using 25 million. And out of that 25 million, you running your whole operation and you paying people. And on Fridays, you sit your little silly behind down and you write your checks. It ain't nothing make you so busy where you can't sit down and write these checks. And if you that busy, you're gonna fall into a place where you out of money when you
Now
don't correct yourself.
nobody write no checks no more.
They don't
Don't
have to
nobody
write
write
check.
no
They
checks,
do.
man.
If you got a cell phone, you could pay people, man. Don't try to act like you crazy. I mean, I sometimes think that, but listen, if you got a cell phone, you could pay anybody you want to on time.
You make it sound very easy to
It
be able to
is.
manage a
It's
large amount of
just
money
that
like that
easy,
with all of the
man.
things that you're doing.
I just told you the money part you gonna handle. You can help. You can incorporate all the other stuff to somebody else. You get a manager to run all this other stuff. But when it comes down to managing your money, because that's what it ultimately is anyway. It's all about the money. And if you don't control that, somebody gonna rip you off. I don't care who it is.
Right.
You go and give me power of attorney if you want to. And then next thing you know, when your taxes come in the end of the year, you're gonna be saying, "Damn, I didn't know I bought this. I didn't know I bought that. I didn't know I bought that." Next
Yeah.
thing you know,
Yeah.
that $75 million that you had over there in the cut, you're gonna start using that because they done spent the rest of it or stole the rest of it from you. Then you're gonna be just like that Cal player on the sideline crying like he was at a funeral. That's what's gonna happen to you.
Well, you know Clinton Porter's ex-Miami running back. We know him very well. He played for the Denver Broncos
And
for a
it
couple of
happened to
years,
him.
his rookie year. Then he ended up getting that $55 million contract with the Washington Redskins, and Drew Rosenhaus was his agent.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I'm assuming that Drew Rosenhaus recommended or suggested
Walked him around like
that
a
he
hot
have this
potato.
guy handle his money for him.
Yeah, I remember that.
I don't know if that's actual fact. I'll dig in and
Well,
try to find out
well,
really what if I can get that deep into it.
it,
But
it was
he
deep
said
because
that
it was deep because Drew Rosenhaus was his agent, and he hooked him up with this investor. And these guys started playing. It wasn't just Portis. It was a whole group of guys who ain't know what they was
yeah, it was
doing.
Steve
It was a
Atwater,
bunch of them,
Terrell Owens, T.O. It was quite a few
allegedly,
of them.
allegedly. But they all came up with bad investments and stuff like that. And if you look at the rest of them, they all scraping the bottom of the barrel financially because they got taken because they didn't
Well, I
know.
know Steve Atwater. I think Steve Atwater is doing okay because those guys get NFL pensions when they leave the NFL. I don't know how they crunch the numbers of how much they get every month, but if you've had a 53 million dollar contract, I guess they calculate all of that in. But I would go as far as to say I don't know if all of them are doing extremely bad, but Portis say he contemplated killing the guy. I
Yeah,
mean, he
because he
literally sat
knew.
out in front of the guy's office,
Listen, man,
and
that
luckily the guy
pension.
didn't come to work that day.
Think about something. If you have a pension, that pension will take care of you and your family, and that's your immediate family. But if you had already put your brother in the house with a car, sister in the house with a car, your parents is balling too with cars,
Mm-hmm.
that pension ain't taking care of all of them people, man. That pension gonna take care of you and your family. That's it. You're
Exactly.
not making enough money to take care of all those outside folks, man. Especially when you got the little side chicks that got little three or four little snotty nosed babies running around the house, and they're yours too. So you ain't getting ready to take care of all of them, man. You're not. So
Especially when you leave football and you don't have that paycheck coming
that's
in
what I'm
anymore, right?
telling you, because you only got a pension that's going to take care of your household. And if you making 700, 800 thousand dollars a year, it'll take care of you great. But if you got your sisters and your mom and your brothers and all of them living in a beautiful neighborhood with nice cars and all of that, and you ain't starting no business for them to take their rear ends to work, you gonna be caught holding the bag, man. And that pension ain't gonna keep your head above water. That pension
Well,
gonna
not for the lifestyle that you want to live. I
That's
mean,
what I'm
if you've
telling you.
been living that same lifestyle, right?
You go listen, man. They try to. That's how they go broke. You don't adjust your lifestyle once you get out of football. You go broke, man, because all those bills still come. They still coming in there, and then everybody
Right.
want to live like they're balling, and they gonna still be asking you for money. You giving it to them. When you giving it to them, that thing gonna start running low. And that's why they
Right.
predict 5 years after NFL players play, if they don't invest their money, they in a poorhouse. And there's a lot of them like that. A lot of them like
Isn't
that.
that a horrible feeling when
It
you say
is.
that's a horrible feeling, man?
It is a horrible feeling. You imagine you able to get on an airplane and fly anywhere you want, vacation, go to any upscale restaurant that you want, and then you fly your distance cousins in, not your first cousin. You got them
Mhm.
cutting through marriages and all of this kind of stuff, and then you got the leeches and then your homeboys who ain't never make nothing of themselves. You taking care of all of these people, and then all of a sudden your career come to a screeching halt. And now that big payday where you was making millions of dollars every year is not coming in because you didn't take time to set up any businesses to keep your finances coming in. The only thing you eating off of now is what you made before. And at that point, that stuff going to start slowly but surely leaving you. And then
Mm-hmm.
5 years from now, it's going to be down to nothing but your pension. And that's when it get ugly because then
Well,
when
some of the picture for them might not be as ugly as it is for the common regular man who working in a
I'm not,
warehouse
we're
or
not
something.
talking about no common man. We mentioned nothing about no damn common man. We did nothing. We had nothing about a common man the whole ship. The whole time we've been talking, we talk about football and coaches and all that. We ain't bring no common man to this conversation, man.
No, I'm just making a comparison.
Don't
I'm just
even
making a
compare these, man.
comparison
A
to an
common man
NFL
gonna make
pension
about
check
five
versus
to
a
eight
common
thousand
man's
dollars a month.
pension check.
Even if you
Huh?
were doing good, a common man, you talking about a middle class common man gonna make about $5,000 to $8,000 a month in a pension. We're talking about
That's
people who,
average, right? That's
yeah, that's
averages,
the
right?
average. Yeah, yeah,
Okay, so NFL player, would you be uh could you say that an NFL player probably got a $30,000 a month pension check?
yeah. It could be a $50,000 a month if you don't take care of it. You still gonna be looking like you freaking don't know what you're doing. If you don't take care of $50,000 a month, it's gonna be just like a guy who's coming to pick up my garbage can on Monday morning. You ain't gonna have nothing because you ain't take care of it. If you don't take care of money, it's not taking care of you. If you go out there and spend every dime you got, next week you ain't gonna have anything, man. And if these guys don't make a conscious decision to get their life in order while they're playing, they're gonna have some problems later on in life because you have to go somewhere, sit down, get all your expenses in order and say, okay, I'm spending this amount of money per month. I got to be making this kind of money a month. That's the only way you will do it. And if you're not doing that after your career is over, you're gonna be done. You're gonna be done. When a new car come out, you ain't gonna be able to get it, bro. You gonna have that same car with the air conditioner went out now. Your windows don't even roll down. It's dude, you need tires, everything, plus the tail light, all of that.
Driving around with a plucker, huh? Driving
Hmm.
around with a piece of car.
Yep.
Like I used to have when I was in high school. My grandmother gave me a car and it looked so bad, man. I didn't even want to drive it on the campus. I would drive it and park it like 6, 7 blocks
That,
away from the
that, that,
school.
that took one of the church fans out there waving yourself like this is so doggone high. I stole the fan at the
Since you
church.
mentioned frugality about players, I would just be, I'm confident to say that Shannon Sharp, which I call Shay Shay, and he's my guy. I watch him almost every Monday and Tuesday. And Ocho Cinco, them guys manage their money pretty good, man. You know, they
Well,
had very very illustrious NFL careers, and they both of those guys are sitting on pretty right now.
well, I think.
Especially Shay Shay.
Well, you got to remember Shay Shay, brother Sterling. Those guys know what they're doing. You got to
Yeah, yeah.
also, if you're not that smart and savvy with that, all you have to do really is surround yourself with folks that's doing that. Because I remember when Shaq was talking about how he looked up to Magic and look at all the stuff that he's doing, man. He's doing more stuff than Magic is now. You got to surround yourself with people that's doing that stuff, man. And if you don't, you're gonna wind up in a terrible situation where you on welfare, so to speak, man, because you gotta have lawyers involved if you're setting up a business. You gotta have accountants together. You gotta have all of these things, financial planners. You gotta incorporate all these people in there, and it's not that really hard to do. I mean, if you're not a business smart guy, go buy you a franchise. A franchise is already set up to run itself. All you have to do is get you
So
a manager and just watch over what was the operations of it and pay the person accordingly. And then you open up another one and another one. Then that's when you can continue your life like it was when you were playing sports. But if you don't get involved in any of this stuff, it's just it turns out bad for you in the end.
That's true. Shaq is a perfect example of a businessman that really made all the right
Hmm.
moves, all the right choices. The
Yeah,
guy is just and E40, even the rapper E40. I got to give a rapper E40. I mean, this guy's got all different types of franchises, and
yeah, man, Master P and
his
Snoop and the rest of those guys, man.
yeah,
You
Snoop, and
you have
you
your
can go
day in
on
the
and on
sun for a
about
little
these
while.
guys. Dr. Dre. I
Yeah,
mean, look at Dre.
you have your day in the sun for a little while, and then you catapult what made you successful onto something else, some other ideas that'll make you some money. If you have those multiple incomes coming in, that way you can prosper like that. Because you it's just like a good athlete. He's gonna have that small window to get the praise for being a good player, get the money that comes
Hmm.
behind. He's gonna have the fame. And after 5 or 6 years, it's going to be a new Jack come in there and take that slot. He's going to be doing that thing. By that time, you need to be having yourself situated for your next portion of your life to do something else, man, to make a living. Because that ain't going to be always. It ain't going to stay like that. You're going to get
Yeah, and
floored.
it's
You're
an
going to get
awful
cut.
feeling.
Just come on, man. Just look at
Yeah.
it. Just look at it. I remember when Dan Marino was the hottest thing down here, man. And after football, man, that guy, he didn't have anything. He started some unsuccessful businesses and things failed. And then next thing you know, he was filing bankruptcy and stuff. So, and you would think, Marino? Yeah, Marino. And
Yeah, I was really shocked to hear that when I heard about that. I was like,
hmm
man, because he made for his time. I thought he made a lot of money. I
he
mean,
was,
based on
he
the
was
time
making,
frame that he was
yeah,
playing in,
I mean,
they paid him a lot of money. So,
I think
but
he was
he
making,
did have a big family. So take away from that, you do the subtraction from that. I don't know how many children he had,
I
but
think he
him
had
and his
six
wife
kids.
had a big family.
I think he had 6 kids. Him and Claire had 6 kids.
Yeah, and all of them have to go to private school. I mean, he probably put them all through private school
Man,
and the
that
best
little
of
bit of
everything,
that.
you know?
Listen, man. If you making $6 million back in the time that he was making, putting your kids in private school don't put no dent in your pockets, man. That don't hurt
True,
him.
true,
That don't even hurt
true.
him. When you start having them
That's true.
outside kids and your money leaving your house, that's the thing that's damaging to you.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
That is so true. So, top 10 teams this coming week, we're looking at the top 10 as AP has it today, and I'm going to pull it up right now. Give me just a second. The AP top 10 NCAA football teams. AP top 10 college football. So here we go. College football rankings. Right now, we're looking at number 1, Texas. Number 2, Ohio State. Number 3, Oregon. Number 4, Penn State. And you know what? Penn State might be for real this year. I think James Franklin is tired of people, just hitting him over the head with a sledgehammer. I think this might be their year. So we'll see, based on them having to play Ohio State. Georgia's number 5. University of Miami is number 6. Alabama is number 7. Tennessee is number 8. Ole Miss is number 9. Clemson is number 10. Iowa State is number 11. And Notre Dame, well, it has Iowa State and Notre Dame at number 11. One of them's got to be 12. So I'm assuming that Notre Dame is number 12.
Out of that group,
So
out of that group you just mentioned, how many are undefeated? Because you done mentioned a few of them that's got lost, that's still in the top 10. It's several of them still in the top 10 with a loss. So
I
Alabama
count
has a
6.
loss,
I count 6
Georgia
teams
has a
right now.
loss, and
I
who
count
else
6 teams.
that has one loss, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, these other teams have one loss. I counted 6 teams that had undefeated seasons so far.
Okay.
Because if you're looking at Iowa State, they're still undefeated.
They're ranked. Are they ranked in the top 12?
Yeah. Yeah, they're ranked number 11, and they're ranked
Yeah.
above Notre Dame, so they might be for real. They're in the Big 12, Iowa State. So we'll see how they play out. Um, one more thing before we kind of wrap tonight. I'm I wanted to bring up UCLA. So here's the deal with UCLA. UCLA is always had a good program. I mean, even back as far back as the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. And the program somewhat has fell on hard times of late, especially the last 6, 7 years. They hired Chip Kelly. They fired Jim Mora Jr. They brought in Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly was supposed to turn the program completely around, have it up into the top 5 every year. It didn't quite work out like that. Um, Eric Bieniemy, man, give me some of your input on Bieniemy. Bieniemy, he's a good dude. I mean, he's coached a long time. He's coached at Kansas City. He's won Super Bowls with the Chiefs. The guy was a hell of a football player when he played back at
Mhm.
Colorado back in that time. One of the things the Colorado coach said back then, he says Eric Bieniemy was abrasive. He was a hard-nosed football player. He wasn't scared. He was a smaller guy, but he ran into bigger guys.
I remember.
What do you think made him step back and leave the NFL after he was let go from the Washington Commanders because the owner decided to go with a different coaching staff? He's coaching as an offensive coordinator at UCLA under Deshaun Foster. I'm praying that they give Deshaun Foster another year or two to be able to try to build that program, because what I think happened is Chip Kelly left behind. He didn't leave quite a complete mess, but Chip Kelly wasn't very, very strong to me in the recruiting area about going out and going into living rooms and convincing 4 or 5 star players to come to UCLA. What do you think about Bieniemy stepping back into the college rank? I thought it was a backwards move myself.
Well, he's been in the NFL for the longest, man, and I think he didn't get his opportunity to be a head coach. So he's probably trying some new avenues because once you won championships like he has, and then ultimately continue to get passed over, then you try something different because he's been there before. I thought that he
Mhm.
should have had a head coaching job probably 7, 8 years ago, but he
I
continued to
agree.
get passed over, man. Whenever you can orchestrate the type of offense that he has, and he's always had a successful offense, and
Mhm.
he constantly got passed over. So what I think maybe he's trying to do, because he's in a good program, but the thing is, everything, most things don't happen right overnight. This is his first year there, ain't it? It's his first year.
Well, I agree. I'm not saying get rid of him, or I'm not saying get rid of Deshaun Foster, because
Yeah.
Deshaun Foster, I think, is going to turn out working out all right if they give him the time. He's got to recruit his own players. See, he's playing with Chip Kelly's players right now. And Chip Kelly, again, I had sources over on campus at UCLA that literally said that Chip Kelly wasn't interested in players having to pursue players. I mean, he took 3 star players and he was able to make them into 4 star players. That type of formula that I think that he used. He brought that formula from Oregon with him as well as being in the NFL. He wasn't successful in the NFL with the Philadelphia Eagles. He wasn't successful in the NFL with the San Francisco 49ers. And then UCLA gave him all that money to come over there, and literally, I mean, he was average at best. And
Uh,
then he decided to leave. He decided, look, I want to go to Ohio State and be the
yeah.
offensive coordinator and take my money with me. You
All
know?
right. Understand something. Whenever you have a coach, just as you described, and he leave those type of players behind, just because he's gone, that don't mean these players going to change automatically. You got to have kids to buy into your system because they got the mindset of the person who left you. They
Mhm.
they got that type of mindset. So you remember when Dion got in there? Dion chased
Yep.
after his team away because
He
he
did.
knew the mindset of the players that was left behind. And a lot of them opted to just walk out of there anyway because they wasn't used to that forceful type of guy who's going to come in there and implement some things that is going to be a drastic change. That drastic change allow you to turn around a club and go forward where you start winning. When you got that mindset of a person that's easy on you, a person that just lets you get by, a person who don't punish you when you do something wrong, you have that laid back, nonchalant mentality where when you start getting your butt beat, it's like, oh shoot, we got another game next week. You don't take that like that, man. You don't take it easy. You got to go out there full throttle all the time. So
True.
those players that want to take it easy, man, go play badminton, go play tennis, go play something where you can relax and you doing something on your own. Because a team sport like football mean everybody has to pull their weight. And if you're not willing to pull your weight, go play some individual sport. Go play checkers with somebody. Go play chess. Go play something where you can control what you do, not you doing something where you're not doing your job and it caused the quarterback to get freaking blindsided. So
Hmm.
that's what happened, man. Eric Bieniemy, he need to just hang on in there. I think if they turn their team around, then because college, look, it's going to be 5 openings soon.
Oh
There's a
yeah,
lot of grease
I
on
think he's a
people's
good
feet.
fit for a lot of programs in
Yeah,
college,
yeah,
for sure.
man, he's a good
And it's
fit
probably
for.
better for him to be in college at that level because you dealing with grown men paying, mortgages, and they don't want to listen a lot of times. These
Let's
kids,
think
they
about it.
listen. I mean, they'll have to listen to him.
He was fighting Mahomes, bro. Remember that?
True.
He was.
Yeah.
If you get in a fight with Mahomes, that means something going on, man. Mahomes is like this old sandy blonde guy who always giggling and playing. I mean, he's a stud now. Don't get me wrong on the football field, but they was clashing, man. They was bumping heads. There was a bunch of friction going on. So he had to leave because
Well,
Mahomes
Bieniemy's a
won't go.
system guy. I mean, he's literally a system guy. So what I mean by that is if he calls a play or if Andy Reid calls a play and then the quarterback decides to
Change it.
change the
He's
play,
gonna go nuts.
he's gonna go
He's gonna go
nuts. He's a
nuts.
system guy. He don't
He's
want
gonna go
if
nuts.
he send a play in for
He wants you to
Mahomes to
run it.
run and
Yes.
Mahomes decide, look, man, I had to make a decision.
He gonna
I
go
saw
nuts.
a certain, I saw him within a certain alignment, and I just decided to go ahead and go with this because
Especially
I
if
used to
he.
see his expressions on the
Mhm.
sideline when he would be looking at Mahomes about, especially if the play didn't work.
That's
If
what
it
I was
didn't
gonna make.
work,
That's the point I was getting ready to make.
exactly. If it didn't work,
Yes.
the enemy had that look. See, I told, listen, man, y'all don't be listening and run the plays, man. Got to run them plays, bro. I mean, if we send the play in,
Listen,
you
man.
need to go with that play.
That's undermining his authority and severely disrespectful. Is this guy calling the plays? And you go there and change it. Now, if you do it and that you check off and that thing work, you don't really probably get no backlash. But if you get stuffed when you change that play, man, it's hard to live
Yeah.
that down.
Well, given Mahomes the benefit of the doubt, the guy is a 3-time Super Bowl champion. So let me just say this: Mahomes is an exception. I'll just say he's an exception to being able to change plays and call his own plays, but still, Bieniemy again is a system guy. He don't care whether he Mahomes, he don't care whether he Aaron Rodgers. If I send a play in, man, that's the play I want you to run.
Man, when you look at a guy
You
like
know.
the enemy, he don't take no second seat or back seat to nobody, man. So if he give you a play, that's what he's expecting to run. He
Hmm.
don't care about what your stature is, man. If you Mahomes or you Jackson, he gave you a play to run and you changed it. That's what he's thinking about,
So
man.
Bieniemy's saying that look, don't change the play. If we
That's
send it
exactly
in,
what
don't
he's
change
saying.
the play.
That's exactly what he's saying. If you think you want to change the play, call a doggone timeout and say, okay, listen, I seen this. That's what you do. But just to go there and change that play, oh, man, because
But
they
Andy
get,
Reid didn't seem to be balking about it as much as I
listen,
would see
man,
Bieniemy. I mean, the expressions on Bieniemy's
listen,
face,
man. If Andy Reid is not going to say anything, Andy Reid just counting on going to there and get the fattest filet mignon he can chew on. He don't care about none of that, man. He gonna let these guys handle all of that business, man. He ain't no play
You
calling.
say Reed want him a filet mignon steak, huh?
Yes, man. You want him some garlic bread and a filet mignon, man. Broccoli and some loaded mash. Man, he ain't thinking about going back and forth with no player on no play in at all. Shoot. And see,
Yeah.
it worked him fine. It worked him well. Just thinking about it now. He done paid his dues. You see how many championships he's got now? He
Oh
paid
yeah,
his
yeah.
dues, man. He's
And
a
Andy
young
Reid
coach.
is one of the most
Of
well-respected
course, man.
coaches, should go down in history
Well,
as
it's
one of the
easy
best
to him
coaches in the
now.
history of the
Just
game.
just think about it. It's easy to him now. He's been around so long, and he's got the best quarterback in the league. He's got the best
Yep,
defense in the league. Why would you walk away from that, man? That's another reason
that's
why
true.
the enemy probably left, because he realized that Andy Reid ain't going no doggone where, man. If he got it that easy, you just let it run its course. I guarantee you, if they was losing, he won't be there because
That's
he's
true.
on cloud nine. The dude is winning. He's winning, and it's fun because he's got a quarterback that just know how to do everything. He's got a freaking vicious defense that stops everybody. So all of this
Right.
thing is fun, and you're getting paid. Come on,
That's
man,
right.
you can't beat that. You can't beat that. Just look at something. When when Don Shula was Andy Reid's age, the tables had turned on him. He started getting his butt beat. That's what was happening because he
Yeah.
had not adapted to the type of players that was coming into the NFL. He was dumb. Then he went over to Alabama and got his son fired because he came to Alabama running them 1972 plays and got Mike fired from over there. That's how they got Nick Saban because the
Right.
game had passed him by. The
Yeah. Nick
game had
Saban, I
paid.
believe, was Mike Shula was there before Nick Saban got there. I
Nick
remember that.
Saban replaced Mike Shula. He replaced
Yeah,
Mike Shula.
that's
That,
true.
that's what
And then
happened.
the program from that point on is
Just
just
start
history.
gliding. They were like a bald eagle, just gliding. They were like this,
Yeah.
just gliding. And where did
Yeah.
Mike go? You ever see Mike with another good job? No, just
No.
gliding. Now
No.
is another group of them shooters out there coaching now, the
Yeah.
grandson and all that
I
type
think
of
I
stuff.
think his grandson was
Yeah.
coaching for the Rams out here in
Hmm.
LA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they say he's a good coach too. I mean, they say he's a pretty good
It's
coach,
David's
so
son. I think
he
it's
might have
David
a
Shula's
future in
son.
front of him.
It's David Shula's son that's out there coaching now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. 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 So give me three coaches in the NFL that you think might be at risk this year on a banana peel. Who would you think those three coaches might be?
Well, I I don't know. I don't know.
How about the
Shoot,
guy in New York? I mean, you think he gonna survive?
he might. He might. See, the thing is,
Robert Saleh? I mean, you think Saleh's gonna make it?
this is the deal. When you got coaches, just they got to find out who's out there. You got to find the
Mm-hmm.
guys that's out there because this is the same thing we just got through talking about with the enemy. You talking about turning all these coaches loose, but who's out there? Who's out there? They
True.
even talk about plucking Dion from college to bring him in to coach pro. I don't think Dion want to do it. He having a lot of fun at Colorado. He's dealing with kids. He don't have to deal with these grown men. And that's the reason why I think he's going to stay. Dion is a guy who know how to get in the psyche of a child. If
Right.
because when you start dealing with adults, they're gonna think we're on the same level, so I'm not gonna listen to you. You know, That's the thing was different from his situation. So I think he's gonna stay put. And if he leave, he's gonna go to another college. That man ain't going to no pro football, man. He's not that kind of coach. It's just like when Nick Saban was there
Came to the
in the
Dolphins,
pro.
right?
Yeah, he was not a good fit because his coaching philosophy and his coaching tactics is channeled for children, man, kids, young adults. He can't deal with no freaking 35-year-old guy who's thinking his knees are freaking almost shot and you're supposed to go down there and catch a damn pass when you got to lean and dive for it. And then you come
True.
running there because you missed the ball and Nick Saban gonna chew your behind out and they gonna get pissed off and talk to him, back talk him. He's not doing that. He's not doing that,
Hmm.
man. It's the same thing with Spurrier. Remember Spurrier? Steve Spurrier fell on his
Went to the
chin.
Washington Redskins. They call it Washington Commanders now, but the
He
Redskins back
not
then,
only
yeah.
that, he went there and he went to all these old broke down other in pro football team that never survived. He was head coaches over there too,
He was in the
and
USFL too. He coached the
right,
Tampa Bay Bandits in the
and he never
USFL
had
for
a
a while.
successful team. He never had a successful team. He had a successful college career. You know, he
Hmm.
won stuff over there at South Carolina. He won stuff at University of Florida, but not in the in the pro level. He couldn't do it because he liked to talk crap to people and jerk them around and all this type of stuff. Adults not going for that, man. Fool around
Hmm.
and get knocked in the head jacking on one of them pro players like that. Pull a spree well
Yeah.
on your behind. Put you in the
Yeah.
chokehold.
Spreewell. Hey, Latrell Spreewell is legendary with PJ Carlesimo. I would never forget that, the way that went down that day. Um, so back to coaches that you might not make it for an NFL. Doug Peterson in Jacksonville, they say his name is surfaced, that he might not survive if they don't have a playoff run in the season. Um, you think Mike McCarthy is gonna make it at Dallas?
If he continue to pull off them little sleazy games like he did this week, he will.
You see how disillusioned and how Tomlin looked at the end of the game, man. He just couldn't believe it. I mean, I, I wouldn't have been able to sleep last night if I
Man,
lost like that.
if McCarthy wins stuff like this for the remainder of the year, he ain't going nowhere, man. Because the the Steelers was on a streak, man, and they got beat.
Yeah.
The Steelers was
Now they're
looking
four
like
and two.
the Steelers was actually looking like they was gonna kick some butt this year, and all of a sudden they let the Cowboys beat them. So Jerry loves stuff like that. Man, you should have seen when they was showing that freaking press box when he was in there. He was delighted to see them pull off a game like that because Pittsburgh was on fire. I thought Pittsburgh was gonna
They
maul
wasn't
those guys,
supposed to beat
man.
Pittsburgh last
No,
night, as far
no,
as I was
man,
concerned.
no.
Yeah. It wasn't supposed to beat the Steelers. And it looks like Tomlin's name has been all over X again today,
Man,
Twitter.
Tomlin looked like he had to put the puzzle together, man. He's got his quarterback in there. He's got two quarterbacks in there now. And for him to poop on that game, man,
I don't think it was any one particular thing that hurt Pittsburgh other than the fact that those receivers dropped a lot of balls.
yeah,
Justin
but
Fields didn't do too bad. I mean, I thought he did a fairly decent job.
when,
They
when
don't have a running game. Najee Harris is one of the best backs in the NFL, but he can't seem to get any
you,
openings to run through. I don't know about the Steelers, man. I'm a little bit concerned about them this year.
the Steelers is got this roller coaster ride for the last 10 years, man. When you think they're gonna do something, they'll fall on their nose. And then the games that you think they're gonna lose, they wind up winning. So, and it's always enough to keep Tomlin in his job or give him a.
He's never had a losing season.
He hadn't, and
But
that's
that
what
don't
it gave
mean
him
nothing now,
extension.
though. Not having a losing season don't hold water now. I'm gonna just tell you that right now. If he riding on that, that ain't gonna save him. I'm just telling you right now. I'm talking about Mike Tomlin. Not gonna
Well,
save him
he
if he
had a
riding on.
beautiful ride, no matter how it turns out.
Absolutely,
That guy been there.
absolutely.
He's been there longer than almost any coach in the NFL right now. Because I
17
mean,
years.
who's been there longer than that? Who?
I don't know of anybody.
Nobody.
I don't know of
Nobody,
anybody that's been in the league that
nobody,
long
even
for at one
Harbaugh and the
team.
rest of those guys, they hadn't been. He hadn't been there over at the Ravens that long. I don't really
Who
know
you talking about,
anybody.
John Harbaugh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know anybody else who's been in there for 17 years.
John Harbaugh came right
Ray
after
Lewis,
they
he
got rid of Brian Billick, and the Brian Billick won a Super Bowl.
in
I
no
want to say
year.
2001 when Ray Lewis, I believe Ray Lewis was a rookie or he was just in his second year.
Well, he might
So
be the only
Harbaugh's
one
been
then.
there since the mid 2000s,
Well,
I
he
would
might
say.
he
Let
might
me
be
look
the
it up.
only one that's been there longer than he might be the only one been there longer than Tom.
I think they may be running neck and neck. Let me check it
Yeah,
right now. So it says here 17 years. They
he
tied. You
tied. He
you
came
you
in the
hit it
same
right on the
time.
nail. You spot on, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there ain't
So
nobody else, man, because everybody else done changed a couple times. Hey, did you see Burrow?
Joe Burrow,
Yeah.
boy, they having a rough time in Cincinnati, man. Cincinnati ain't what they used to be, man.
Burrow, Burrow was looking like a porcupine with that damn highlights in his head. About to cry, man. Dude, Burrow was so pissed off, man, because when you think about the elite quarterback and you see your peers like Mahomes and those guys are having a successful season, and you can't even put together a good sustained drive, man, that work you up.
Well,
And
most
he
of
was
it's
so
not Joe
sad. Like,
Burrow's fault.
it
I
don't
think
matter who
most of it
fault it is.
it's in the lap of the defense,
No,
man.
but
Cincinnati can't stop nobody, just
it
like Cleveland can't stop nobody. It's the
it
same way.
it really doesn't matter who fault it is. I'm not blaming anybody, but I'm just the mere fact that
Yeah,
the team is in disarray, man. And I remember when before they got drafted, um, Jimmy Johnson was, doing their show, and he kept lobbying for Burrow to come to Miami, and we wind up with Tua. I mean, just think
man.
about that. If
Don't you
Burrow
get
was
me
here,
started on that one now.
they wind up with
I'm
Tua,
just telling
man.
you, Justin Herbert was, in my
Herbert, yeah,
opinion, Justin
yeah,
Herbert should have been a Dolphin as far as
hmm
I'm concerned.
yeah. I'm just a
I mean,
diehard
Justin Herbert
Dolphin
should have been a
man.
Dolphin. He was to me, he was a sure shot Dolphin. Tua would have been a sure shot Charger as far as I saw it,
That would
to
have put
play
him
for the
back home.
Chargers.
He's from over that way. He would have been home. He would have went back home, man.
Hawaii. He's from Hawaii. That's a
Yeah,
6-hour flight from California, but
it
still,
is
he
a
would have been
12-hour
closer.
flight from
Yeah.
Miami. He would have been right across the pond, man. He can
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
He would have been right to the house, man. But he's enjoying this South Florida stuff now. He's one of the ones who probably ain't gonna ever move from down here, man.
I
He's
don't know
loving it
about that. A
here.
lot of those Hawaiians, they go back to Hawaii, man.
Okay, going
If
back.
you've been
Okay.
to Hawaii before and see how Hawaii is, how relaxed and laid back the people are
Hmm.
there, it's a
Listen, man.
completely different
Listen,
feel. I
man.
mean, the vibe in Hawaii, just the local Hawaiian people is not even anything
Uh,
close to the mainland, bro.
listen, man.
I
This
mean, if you
dude.
got money and you really want to go somewhere and relax, Hawaii would be the place to be. If you want to be on a rock, I don't want to be on a rock for
Mm-mm.
the
This
rest of my
dude.
life because I
Listen.
can't figure out how to get off the rock in case something happens.
Listen.
And I certainly can't swim. I've never been able to swim, so
To
I wouldn't do
listen.
too good being stuck on a big old rock, you
This
know?
dude done turned hip hop, man.
Yeah.
He ain't got that doggone mentality, that Alabama laid back stuff, and that uh, Hawaii lifestyle no more, man. This dude is throwing parties at his house, and he's tatted up now. He's hip hop, bro. He's wearing his hat backwards like this now, and all of that. Dude, he done changed it up, bro. He ain't going back home. That man ain't
You don't
going
think going
home.
back home?
Mm-mm. No, man. Nah, nah, man. Mm-mm. Dude, he lived out near Davie, where they got acreage of land out there.
Yeah. Oh
It's
yeah,
not
it's
like
nice
in the
out there.
midst of, it's nice out there,
It's nice
man.
out there.
And he's a
Yep.
skip and a hop from the stadium. He's got access to
Mhm.
everything over there. Now he's got freaking $167 million guaranteed. Man, he ain't going back to the
Ain't nothing
Hawaii
wrong with
though.
that.
And he's
Hey,
freaking
I'm
young.
not knocking him for him giving him the money. I'm not knocking him for taking the money. Take the money, whatever
Well,
you need to do.
in reality of it all, that's what should happen. When you play the
Absolutely.
type of violent sport that we love, and
Yeah.
your career could be ended at any given moment, that's why they get paid the big bucks, man. I mean, it's
Especially
just
him, all these
unfortunate.
concussions that he
It's
suffered from, man,
unfortunate.
he should be paid.
It's
They should
unfortunate.
be paying the man the money, and I'm glad they gave him the money just
Listen,
in case he has to make a decision and walk away and leave. He's going to be taken care of, him and his
I
family.
want you to
You know.
realize something, man. If they gave him that kind of money, I mean, don't worry, they gave him that money, right? Don't think
Hmm.
for a split second they don't have no insurance policy on him.
Oh
So
yeah,
they ain't
he's
getting
got
ready
his
to pay
own
all that.
insurance. He's probably got a
I'm talking about
Lloyd's of
them.
London insurance policy,
I'm
and
talking
the
about the
team has got an
team
insurance
itself.
policy on him too.
Of course they
You know.
have, man. You know
Yeah.
a guy who's that fragile, who got three major injuries on one play. If
Hmm.
if 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 they didn't put a nice fat policy on him for his health, shame on them. They just dropped the ball because I watched the game when he got his pelvis,
Yeah,
his
you're talking about it
ankle.
against Mississippi State.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Saban called a timeout to pull him out because they was already ahead, and he was going to let him sit down and let the second string quarterback come in, and he begged, "Coach, let me run this last play," and he took his slew-footed behind running down the sideline, and that DB hit him, and the other guy jumped on his back.
Well, that defensive lineman too. I think it was a defensive lineman tackled him too. It was like
Yeah,
several of them
yeah,
tackled him.
yeah. They balled him up like a napkin, and he was man. They had to take him out on stretcher, and then they
Yep,
had.
he injured his right hip. I mean, his hip was
Man,
jacked
they
up.
doing a stretch out there, and everybody was
Nose was bleeding.
praying
Everything else was
for him,
bleeding.
and
Yeah.
laying hands on him and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Boy,
Mm-hmm.
everybody was thinking that he wasn't gonna make it. But
That's right. That's
but I tell you one thing, he finished the season out and got drafted, which is a beautiful
that's right.
thing.
And he's a pretty good quarterback. I'm not going to take that away from
His
him. I'm
mechanics
not
is the
going to take that
best.
away
I've
from him.
always said that he's just
Yeah.
soft. That's all.
Once he's on his timing and the type of offense that Mike McDaniel, designs for him, I think he's perfect for the offense. What I don't think he's perfect for is the physicality of the game. I mean, it's
No,
just he has to figure out a way to avoid the physicality part of it, and
no.
he would be successful. I think.
You know,
You know.
that's gonna always be the way it is because his body just ain't really made for it, man. His body's not made for football. He's
That's right.
not. He's just a softy. But his
Yep.
mechanics is dynamic. I mean, if you watch
Absolutely.
how he set up and pass the ball, he's dynamic. And what happens is now I think Tariq and the rest of his core receivers are so used to him. They're dropping balls
Hmm.
now. They're so used to
It's
the
a
way he
timing
throws.
thing.
Yeah,
It's a
it's all
timing
about
thing.
timing. It is. It's
That
all about
offense is
timing.
built strictly on timing, and if
Hmm.
they're off timing, it's going to be a long night for them, a long day if they're playing day or night, because it's just that timing, and they practice every day together, and they got that timing down to a science. But when you have another
Give it a
quarterback
couple
come in
more
there,
weeks.
he's not going to throw it the
Just
same, and
give it a
you
couple
know,
more weeks. I think this quarterback, this new quarterback, that's he's gonna be all right. He'll be all right.
I think so too.
I
Tyler
mean,
Huntley, he's a
yeah,
local boy from
Hundley will
Hollandale,
be
and I'm rooting for him.
he'll be all right because I see him. He know how to move around. He's not stiff. He got a pretty doggone good pass too when he
He is.
unload. But
He
it's
played
just a
at
matter
Utah.
of
Yeah,
yeah.
he played at Utah. He went to Utah. No other schools kind of gave him the chance. So he
Hmm.
ended up having a really good career out at Utah, which was good. I mean, a Hollandale, Florida boy ended up in Utah in
Yeah,
Salt Lake City. It's pretty good.
yeah.
So on the wrap up, I'm gonna talk a little bit about the game this past Friday, and then we'll wrap up the show. Um, I had a really good experience watching Carson High School play San Pedro High School. Both teams matched up fairly well in terms of the talent levels that both teams had. The coaching staffs, to me, are matched up really well against each other because the coaching staffs were very, very good at what they did as well, um, from the talent perspective. From the Carson end, you got Coach Mike Christensen, and I mean, the guy is just amazing. What he's done at Carson, to me, is just beyond amazing because that program had hit hard times. Carson was a hell of a program 20 years ago. Carson was putting guys over at USC, UCLA, Oregon, all of the Pac 12 schools, even sending them back east. They were playing all over the country. And then this program hit hard times. And then they brought in Mike Christensen, and he had coached at different high schools. But this guy knows what he's doing, and he's got a really good staff. He's sharp. He's got that mindset of a winning coach to be able to motivate these young kids to play hard. And when they played San Pedro, they punched San Pedro in the mouth and they pushed San Pedro around pretty good, pretty much for the entire game until about the late third quarter. And that's when San Pedro started trying to make a comeback. San Pedro's head coach, Corey Walsh, his father, Mike Walsh, coached San Pedro for 25 years to championships, city championship after city championship. I have an article on the website, DC Stewart Show Podcast.com right now. It's got both interviews with both coaches, and I think it's a good read. And if you want to listen to the interviews from both coaches, Coach Walsh, I approached him after the game. He was pretty busy. Real good dude, man. Good guy. He coached his butt off that night to keep his players motivated to not get just stomped. And he said right out of the gate, he said, man, they punched us in the mouth, man. They had us on the ropes. And I told my guys at halftime, look, we're not giving up. That's not an option. We're going to go back out there and we're going to play hard. And sure enough, San Pedro came back out and they scored a couple of times, but Carson was just so far ahead of them until, they couldn't catch up.
Yeah.
Exactly. So Carson's on a bye week this week. And by the way, Carson has some really good players. And let me name a few. You got Chris Fields III, number 12 quarterback for Carson. He's a sophomore. The kid plays like he's a senior, man. He plays like he's a senior. He's got the size. He's got the skill set. I mean, the kid responds to coaching. He listens to his coaches. He's going somewhere. He's going to a bigger school, and I'm so happy he's coming back to Carson for 2 more years because he's just a sophomore, And then you got this little shifty running back, Cameron Hurst, which is, to me, is a stud. I mean, he's a tiny little guy, but listen, the guy can run the football. I mean, he scored several times, and he's got cutback skills that's unmatched. So just to name a few players, you got Cameron Hurst, you got Chris Fields III, and you got Troy, I forgot his last name, Troy, the safety. He plays safety for him. Carson safety. I think his name's Troy Talua, but he's a stud too. He's gonna be something special. All of these guys are something special. Mike Christensen is a good coach. He's bringing them back, and I think next year they're going to be really competitive. So, you have anything to close out on before we close the show?
No, I just said this is a good dialogue, man. Enjoying it, man. Covering all the things since Friday to Monday. It was nice. It was nice.
Absolutely. Yeah, I did pronounce his name right. Troy Talua. And he's a hard hitter. He's a ball hawk. And Carson's is going some big places. And one more shout out is Carson's AD, Jeff Klein. Hell of a guy, man. Sharp. Hopefully, Jeff Klein is going to be at a college somewhere, at a big university as an AD someday, because he's just that talented. I mean, as an AD. And he was one of the first people I talked to when I started doing the Carson games. And he just invited me in and say, look, you do your thing, and the whole 9 yards. So I have a lot to be appreciative of I enjoyed the show. I enjoyed the past shows we've done. We're going some other places with this show. We're going to do some really, really special stuff. And it is really, really, I think, going to be really good for a lot of people. If you like what we're doing, make sure you hit the like
The
button.
like button.
If you disagree with us on something, leave a
Chime in.
comment. I'll be
Chime
more
in.
than happy to respond, right?
Yes, sir.
If
Leave a
it's
comment.
something that we didn't factually say right, we'll be more than happy to respond and correct it if it's something that wasn't right. So that pretty much
All right,
wraps it up
partner.
for yeah,
That's it. All
for the
right, partner.
tonight, the
Yes,
DC
sir.
Stewart show, and we're gonna call it a night, and we'll be back soon. So we'll hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks a lot. We'll see you soon.